when you got to pay Odell almost $20 million to find out if Baker Mayfield can win a Super Bowl in his second season, that draft pick is coming at that expense, at a $20 million expense. It's not an inexpensive, really, piece when you think about it that way. Even when you think that if you include and expand the trade, because obviously when they traded for Zietler, when they traded Olivier Vernon for, even that, when you factor it all in, the Giants got fleeced, and everyone knows it. Don't try to pass this along like this has been some grand plan from the beginning. This is some fly by the seat of your pants, constantly changing the plan. Bad idea.
Max Kellerman, you are a Giants lover to the core. I appreciate your position. Having said all of that, I think you're entirely too emotional, and your ire is being aimed in the wrong direction. I am no fan of Dave Gettleman. I haven't been a fan of his since he let Josh Norman walk out the door from Carolina to the Redskins after getting to the Super Bowl with no backup plan that I could see. All right, I've been no fan of Gettleman ever since then because he yanked the offer off the table. If you remember that, Lewis, he had an offer for Josh Norman and yanked it off the table. I didn't like that at all. Having said all of that, I don't believe that you sign Odell Beckham Jr. to a 5-year, $90 million contract with a $20 million signing bonus with $65 million guaranteed, and then you as the GM make a decision a year later, he's got to go. We can't win with him. I don't think that's the case at all. I think this is ownership, that being the New York Giants, led by Mr. Mara and those guys, them forcing Gettleman to make this decision. And they probably didn't have to work too hard to do it because he probably wanted the license to do it to begin with. Certainly Coach Shermer appeared to want the license to do just that, considering the way he raved about Saquon Barkley and how this is the guy who's such a talent, a superstar. But what a fine, fine gentleman he is, as if to point out that Odell Beckham Jr. was anything but. I think that even though they didn't have to work so hard, I think this was a mandate from ownership because of the New York Giants way. And you know where my proof ultimately lies? Lewis, Max, Molly, it's not in them letting Odell Beckham Jr. go. It's in them keeping Eli Manning. Because had you let him go before March 17th, Eli Manning, if you let him go, you would have saved $17 million on the cap. You still said no. We're going to eat this. We're going to let them count $23 million against us as opposed to freeing us up of $17 million. Why are we doing that? Because we love him. He's such a good guy. He's class personified, consummate professional, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl MVP. What he has done for us, how he conducts himself, how first class he is, the Manning family being the first family of football. You know Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. In NFL history, nobody has made more money than them two. We understand Peyton Manning. But Eli Manning is number 2 according to the Forbes list that I read from months ago in terms of pocketing in excess of $235 million. Now, you would think he's gotten enough. Oh, no, it's never enough when you're a Manning, and I love the Manning family, so I'm not knocking anybody. I just think it's important to understand, by keeping Eli Manning, they've made a clear case that your behavior, how you conduct yourself, and what we feel about you as a person matters to us arguably more than winning football games. That comes from the top. That's not Gettleman.
Yeah, you know what? I think they have, you know what? I'll say this about what Dave Gettleman said. Okay, I think he has a plan. I just think the plan now, it obviously has shifted. It's taken a 180. This plan that he has now, that I suspect that he has now, is maybe the plan that they should have enacted a year ago, because the plan that they enacted a year ago blew up because there were some miscalculations and some misevaluations, both in terms of the people they brought in and maybe what they had on the roster already. They thought that they could compete last year while continuing to supplement the roster and maybe, maybe challenge for the NFC East title. That's what they thought. They thought we can get another year out of Eli. They made a decision to go ahead and draft Saquon to help Eli, to help take some pressure off of him. They made a decision to commit to Odell long term. They failed to nurture the relationship with Odell and develop that kind of rapport with Odell that would then become something where he would get they would get everything out of him that they wanted, and he would be happy and he would be content with his role and his status there as a New York Giant. They failed to do that. The players that they brought in to help supplement Eli, other than Saquon Barkley, Nate Solder, didn't pan out. Well, hasn't panned out to the way that they want him to. Alec Ogletree didn't pan out. Patrick Omame didn't pan out. Players, the defense overall didn't play up to expectations. The offensive line overall didn't play up to expectations. Now, they started playing a little bit better as the year went on offensively, but still not enough. Still not enough. Late last year, I'll bet this "we have a plan" was enacted, meaning the next plan for 2019, because they saw that it blew up. So now they're starting over from scratch. And what does that usually mean? That means sell off all of our most valuable assets, tear it all the way down to the base, all the way down to the foundation, and then build it back up. Because I'll tell you this, start with these 5 positions. Okay, these are my top 5 positions when you're talking about building a franchise. Do you have a quarterback? Do you have a pass rusher? Do you have a number 1 corner? Do you have a number 1 offensive tackle? Do you have a number 1 wide receiver? Going forward, do they have a quarterback going forward?
0 for 5.
No, I don't think so. Do they have a pass rusher? Don't think so. Do they have a number 1 corner they can count on? Don't think so. Do they have a number 1 wideout they can count on? Don't think so. They have a lot of work to do. And this is because the plan that they had in 2018 blew up. It's as simple as that. They mismanaged the relationship with Odell Beckham. It's as simple as that. That's why he's in Cleveland now. And now, as far as the quarterback situation is concerned, because they thought they could get a year or 2 out of Eli and then maybe draft his successor and put pieces around him, and they didn't do that, they've had to change course with the plan. He may have a plan. And look, I know Dave. I've scouted with Dave. I've been in stadiums with Dave. I've sat up in press boxes and scouted players with Dave. I know he knows football, but they mismanaged this situation. They mismanaged it with the number 1 player on their football team. They mismanaged it in terms of evaluating their own roster and the people that they brought in.